But how that MATLAB got this is all this theory by synthesis techniques which were evolved in 1960s. Okay. There are so many issues I have still not touched upon, in the sense that this inductor is not a good inductor because there is a series resistance with it. So, with this series resistance here, there will be transfer function change automatically. So, how do I take care of that as a part of the synthesis itself? So, I can do some slight transformation in the S itself. S will be including the resistor value and then do the analysis with respect to that. So, there are more complications on this people have done, but in practice nobody bothers about it. They just take this network and try to put an inductor close to this value with the smallest possible series resistance. So, you wind it with a thick wire, and in the present day at low frequencies, what do we do? So, at low frequency, cutoff frequencies in terms of kilohertz or up to megahertz, for example, then we don't use even this design. We will only use the active filter design, which is studied in 102, right? We are using op amp and then use a state variable realization of the op amp filters. Other school of people suggest that you replace this inductor by a capacitor with a op amp terminated in a capacitor. At the terminals, input terminals of the op amp, it behaves as though it is an inductor. So, the whole network becomes resistor capacitor network, no inductors in it. So, that every element of inductor replaced by an op amp terminated in a capacitor, which in literature we call it negative impedance converters, which will convert the impedance at the output to a negative impedance at the input. So, you can do that. So, one school of thought does claim that that is the best way of doing it. Other school of thought says, no, no, don't do that, do it by state variable method. So, each one has an argument to say my method is better than another method. But people use generally state variable realization for low frequencies and this kind of structure for high frequencies. The choice is yours. Because like I went on testing so many times in 101 and 102, as inductor is a nasty element. You cannot ideally come closer to the inductor. There are always some series resistance with it. And these are almost ideal because the shunt resistance here is so large, it does not bother you. So, this is almost ideal, but this can never be made close to ideal. So, people try to avoid using inductors at low frequencies, but high frequency you have no choice. You will have to have a physical inductor or an equivalent inductor, and we do it by using pieces of transmission line. Someday you will know about it. So, this is the technique of filter design. This I do not think we have a question on this in the examination, but do not worry about problems or where do we get this material and all this, but just I want to give you idea about how this is done. Okay, that completes the active analog filter design. We have studied already digital filter design. So, both kinds of filters in digital domain and analog domain, how to synthesize has been taught to you. The last two topics, unfortunately, I do not have time to spend more time on it, but I just want to spend few minutes on each one of these two topics. So, till now what we studied is linear time invariant reciprocal. right? These are the adjectives which you have used. One is linear, one is time invariant, one is reciprocal. All these three definitions, you understand what they are. Linearity satisfies the convolution, superposition theorem. Time invariance is the differential equation has only constant coefficients independent of time, linear differential equations. The next one is reciprocal, which satisfies the Telegraph theorem, right? So these are the three adjectives which you have used. But are there no other networks other than this? Of course, the answer is no. There are many more networks. Network is nonlinear. Most of the networks in principle has to be nonlinear. We only say the network is linear by making sure we operate it in the linear region by adjusting the amplitude so that it never goes into nonlinear region. But invariably, any system, any network will someday end up into nonlinear points. And what happens at that time, I am interested in knowing. In general, an amplifier, for example, if you go into nonlinearity, when the signal is very large amplitude, goes into nonlinearity, what happens? You got second harmonic, third harmonic. So there will be distortion in the output, which is called the harmonic distortion. And this harmonic distortion is problematic in many cases. We want to avoid it, so we want to minimize it. So we want to study how much is the harmonic distortion. Classically, we used to study nonlinear networks by assuming some nonlinearity for each one of those elements which have a nonlinear behavior and assume a sine wave and analyze the whole output in terms of all kinds of harmonics, add them up all the harmonics that you get out of this because of each nonlinearity in the network and compute what is the nonlinear distortion. That's one way of doing it, and that's the method which we used to do. Even now people do the same method to find out the nonlinear distortion. But I'll come to a method a few minutes later, how presently people approach this nonlinearity. This method which I told you earlier was the method that was used by Van der Pol, which we have studied in 102, a nonlinear differential equation, what are the solution to it, and so on and so forth. And people, Minsky, then Krylov, Bogolov from Russia. So they have given methods of how to analyze nonlinear networks. In the method which I mentioned to you, apply a sine wave and find out the output in terms of all harmonics, and then find out how much is the harmonic content. But later, some other beautiful techniques have come about to analyze the nonlinear networks. I'll give you about that. Then the time invariance. Most networks are time invariant, but the time variation comes in the networks or systems depending upon what we are dealing with. If you are talking about systems containing resistors, inductors and capacitors, you can by and large think they are time invariant because the values of this don't change too much with respect to time. But if you are using an active device into it, the aging of the device changes the characteristics of the device. So on a long-term basis, there is some change in the parameters of the active device, so the system may become time variant. But the scale of time you need to worry about. If it takes 1 year for that device to change, in this 1 year nothing happens, it can still become a time invariant network. But if you worry about long-term behavior of this network, then you need to worry about the time invariance of the elements. But there are situations where this time variation is very fast. The study of the time varying networks came up only because of communication people, where when you send a signal here and receive a signal somewhere else, the medium in between is very fast changing. When it is so fast changing, what happens to the signal that sent to the system here at the output? So the time varying channels is what was responsible for giving impetus to study systems with time variance. So they were the one around 1970s, 60s started worrying about what will happen to systems when the system is varying with respect to time. How do you analyze it? So then reciprocal. Immediately after the time when linear time invariant reciprocal was studied in 60s, people started questioning, is there no non-reciprocal network? There are many nonlinear, non-reciprocal elements were discovered, and how to analyze those networks or how to synthesize networks with non-reciprocity. I will not touch upon this because this is more of at microwave frequencies. We have elements which are non-reciprocal elements. So we won't go into the non-reciprocity in this particular case, but we'll study more of this and this. That also I touch upon in few minutes each.